you wanted to know what I was doing on this white truck. Got the steering box off here, and I'm on fix my seal. It's leaking fluid, and deal with slop. And interesting, so there's, I don't know if you can see that, there's pink marker writing on this. Before I cleaned it up, it was brighter, and that means exactly one thing, that came from a wrecking yard. So, and there's no way to know now, but at some point Daddy and them put a wrecking yard steering box on this truck for some reason, and so it's bound to be the right one because it mounts on the outside of the frame, and it's got 4 bolts, which is pretty much the trucks that did that. Besides that, I don't know anything about it, but I got all the fluid out by turning it upside down and turning the input and the pitman shaft back and forth and getting all the fluid out, because the thing that I saw said to set preload here, you want all the fluid gone, and so I'm going to do that adjustment that I was telling you about. All right, I took that lock and nut thing off of here. This is the adjuster. This is how much play is in there before I start. Let me find a little hole there. Here you go. That's the play that's in there. This is what it looks like when it comes out. There's all kind of stuff going on down in there. There's plunger, a spring, a bunch of seals, 20-something ball bearings, a bunch of stuff there's no need to get into for me today. So this is what come out of here. The seal, dust cap, split ring, and this O-ring here goes on there, and that sucker is flat, extra flat. I got all this in my kit. There's a needle bearing in there that I'm not sure what all. There's also a thrust bearing. There's a bunch of layers here. I don't know about beating that bearing out. I'm gonna compare it to the new one. Feels alright. I don't really know how it's supposed to feel, but I feel like this might be a remanufactured box, because I don't think this bearing has a lip on it, and supposedly the OEM bearing has a lip and the aftermarket bearing doesn't. Anyway, alright, this is my new stuff. I feel like this might be a remanufactured box, because these parts have pretty much identical markings, which somebody could have replaced the input shaft seal, same as I'm doing right now, but that bearing and the bearing from the kit are the same, and the bearing that's in here, I can't tell that it has any more slack than the brand new one does. They feel about the same to me. I think I'm going to leave the old bearing in because it seems to be about the same amount of slack as the new bearing, and there's a whole bunch of, all this stuff has to be taken apart just right, and there's a thrust bearing in there, and there's just, I don't really feel like it's worth getting in there and taking a chance on putting it back together wrong. So I'm gonna put my O-ring, seal, dust cap, C-clip, and put it back together. So like I was telling you, there's 2 different adjustments on the thing. This and this. And so did my reading, looked up some videos, There were some people that would, you know, say do it by guessing, and this me turn something. And then, you know, I read too that there was a procedure, and as far as I could tell, the procedure was to take and put this back where you started, which would have been right there, my mark right there. Tighten it down to about 30 foot-pounds. I don't have a spanner, but I took those big needle nose and tightened it to what seemed like ought to be probably 30 pounds, good and snug. And then according to what I could find, the procedure is supposed to be get there and then back off 1/2 an inch. So I measured 1/2 an inch in a circle. So my mark started out here. I tightened it down to tight and ended up about right there. And ended up about right there. Measured a 1/2 inch, backed it. So then that lock nut will go on here. Then, and so it said before that to loosen this all the way off. So I did, and I made me a mark where I started on the case and on the thing there. To loosen this lock nut loose, do this, that. Tighten that down, and then take this and slowly tighten this to the right while doing this. So I found me an 18 millimeter. So anyway, so it said to tighten that slowly while turning this until it gets to between 6 to 10 inch-pounds of maintaining torque. Breakaway torque's a little more, but hang on, let me find my catch spot here. There we go. All right, so, and there's a little sticky spot where it goes up to about 12 or so, and my socket don't want to stay hung up. There we go. There we go. There's 10 inch-pounds. Now, I've gone round and around about 100 circles here. Yeah, right at 10. Right at 10. And so, anyway, when I found 10, I stopped, and by the time it was all said and done, I got right at 3/4 of a turn. That little soapstone mark was where I started. It lined up with this, and you see how far it come around. Tightened down my lock nut, and I've turned it, and it seems real good. So I'm gonna slap a coat of paint on it and put it back on. And that there's about, oh, I'm gonna put my lock nut back on, of course. Anyway, if that ain't it, it's probably close to being it, I would hope. About everything I could find, that's a lock nut will go on there. All right, well, that's what I was telling you about when I was over at the house, and that's how far I've gotten. I've done a bunch of stuff. I'll catch you up on it in another video.